Hi, this is Rob with Executive Lens. Here we bring an executive's perspective to power, leadership, strategy, institutions, and the forces shaping the world around us. Today we're focusing on leadership, specifically executive presence. What is it and what it means to you? Let's get started.
You hit every metric, exceed every quota, and master every technical requirement of your role. Yet, your upward mobility stalls. Your flawless execution is actively keeping you in place. This is known as the competence trap. When high performers execute technical tasks perfectly, they become too valuable in the weeds. Elevating them to leadership means the organization loses its most reliable engine of production. This organizational hierarchy graph exposes a harsh corporate reality. A highly productive lower node remains stationary, while a less productive node ascends. In modern corporate structures, objective output does not dictate who rises, subjective perception does. Looking closer, a data callout highlights a key metric. Executive presence accounts for 26% of the criteria used to determine promotion readiness. Flawless execution is merely the price of entry. Perception is the actual currency of executive power. We often mischaracterize executive presence as natural charisma, physical dominance, or an expensive wardrobe. These are superficial traits, and treating them as the core of leadership is an analytical error. This image demonstrates true presence. It's the structural mechanism translating individual competence into perceived group authority. The steady, contained posture signals command without aggression. This operates on the principle of implicit leadership theories. An audience decodes a leader's signals based on internal, pre-existing cognitive schemas of what a competent leader should look and act like. Presence is purely transactional. It is the measurable distance between your internal intent as a leader and the audience's external decoding of your behavior. When careers stall at the senior level, it is rarely a failure of technical skill. It is a structural failure of signal transmission. This diagram breaks down Sylvia Ann Hewlett's framework into 3 pillars: appearance at 5%, communication at 28%, and gravitas at 67%. Appearance is the baseline requirement to be taken seriously. Communication is the delivery vehicle for your ideas. That leaves the 67% payload of gravitas. It is not about commanding a room through volume. It's the strict mastery of emotional containment. During a corporate crisis, the room's collective amygdala reacts to stress. The group's neural network becomes erratic, frantically scanning the environment for signals of safety. A leader with gravitas maintains their own prefrontal cortex regulation. By keeping their nervous system steady, they stabilize the erratic nervous system of everyone else. True gravitas is biological regulation disguised to the observer as professional corporate composure. The ACE framework diagnoses gaps where internal intent and external decoding pull apart. Authority gap. Frantic over-preparation decodes as anxiety. Context gap. A leader's style clashes with the room's culture. Expression gap. Internal processing flatlines externally, reading as hesitation. If an audience cannot accurately decode your competence in the context of a hierarchy, your competence effectively does not exist. We must acknowledge the systemic reality. Presence is frequently weaponized in corporate environments as a proxy for unconscious organizational bias. The acceptable bandwidth of assertive presence shrinks dramatically for female and minority leaders. They operate within a double bind, requiring a highly calibrated, simultaneous projection of both warmth and competence just to be heard. This creates the authenticity paradox. Marginalized leaders are forced into strategic style switching to meet implicit, deeply entrenched leadership prototypes held by their organizations. Navigating the upper echelons of power requires pragmatic political adaptation and calibration. Pure, unfiltered authenticity is a luxury few can afford at the top. To ascend further, you must execute a specific career pivot. You stop proving your value through sheer output volume and start orchestrating systemic work through influence. In strict corporate hierarchies, influence relies entirely on trust. We can understand how this trust is mathematically established through costly signaling theory, a concept derived from evolutionary psychology. Basic loyalty and passive agreement are cheap signals. A true signal requires capital, creating an undeniable ripple because it carries genuine career risk. Constructive dissent Speaking unvarnished truth to power is the ultimate costly signal. It proves unshakable leadership integrity because it is prohibitively expensive to fake. Executives trust peers who demonstrate that their commitment to the organization's mission vastly exceeds their desire for personal comfort. This requires operating at the executive altitude. It is the overarching capacity to rapidly reduce doubt and synthesize complexity in highly ambiguous environments. You must stop waiting for the myth of meritocracy to reward your technical output. You must actively manage your own perception gap. In the highest levels of corporate power, execution is merely the baseline. Perception is the ultimate variable.